Okay guys, we're doing Unit 3, Day 6 today. So today is some word problems. So we're going to kind of work through each of them. They're a little bit different. So we're going to be using our y = mx + b. So I just wrote down a few notes for you guys to remember. So when we're looking at our equations, b is going to represent our flat fee, or the value that's not changing. Whereas m, that's our slope, that's our changing amount. So when we see the keyword per, that's how we know we're looking at our slope. There'll be a couple problems on the second page that gives us more than two values. So when we have those, we need to come up with an ordered pair. So we're going to work through those problems a little bit differently. So for number one, it says a parking garage charges a flat fee of $9 to park a car plus $2 per hour the car is parked there. So write an equation that can be used to determine the cost of the parked car. So right there we have that keyword per. So per tells us that's going to be our m. So y = 2x. And then our flat fee of $9. So y = 2x + 9. So that's all we need to do for our equation there. So now it says for b, use the equation to determine how long you could park a car if you plan to spend $57. So we're going to take that 57 and we're going to plug it in for our our y, because it's giving us the total cost. So we want to spend $57 and we want to determine how many hours. So remember that keyword per says hour after it. So our x is represented by our hours. So we want to solve for our total cost. So we're going to solve for our x. So we have 57 minus 9, which gives us 48 equals 2x. So we divide that by 2, and x equals 24. So it would we could park for up to 24 hours and spend $57. So remember, you want a sentence. And that's your final answer. So number 2. So number 2 says a salesperson earns $1,000 a month plus 7% commission on the items sold. So write an equation that gives the person's total month pay, y, in terms of the value x, items sold. So y is going to be our monthly pay, just like it's written, and x is the number of items sold. All I did was take what's written in that last sentence and rewrote it, number of items sold. So we're going to put this into our y = mx + b again. So our m is what's changing. So what's changing is our value, is our commission sold. So that's our 0.07. Remember, we need to convert that to a decimal, so we move our decimal point 2 spots. So 0.07x, that's changing. The $1,000 that's earned stays the same. That's not going to change. So here we have y = 0.07x + 1,000. So for B, it asks us to use the equation and determine the salesperson's pay if he or she sells $14,000 worth of items. So $14,000 worth of items, we're going to take that number and we're going to plug it in for our x. That's the number of items sold, right? So we'll do 0.07 times $14,000 worth of items. $14,000 worth of items. So we end up with 14,000 times 0.7 plus 1,000. So we get y = 1980. So the salesperson's pay is $1,980. Now C says use the equation to determine the value of items sold if the salesperson earned $14.90 last month. So we're going to take our equation and we're going to put $14.90 in for our y. That was our monthly pay. So we're going to go back to our original equation. We're going to put in $14.90 equals 0.07x plus 1,000. We're going to solve for x. So we are going to subtract 1,000 from both sides. So I now have 490 equals 0.07x. So I'm going to plug that into my calculator. Divide both sides by 0.07, and I end up with 7,000. So the value of the items is $7,000. So there's two examples, 1 and 2. Let's take a look at number 3. So 3 says, Mary deposits $2,575 into an account and withdraws $50 per month from the account. Write an equation that can be used to determine her balance. So we're going to use our y equals mx plus b again. So we have that keyword per. So y equals, that per is going to be 50. So Mary deposits $2,575 in the account, but withdraws $50 per month. So withdrawal means it's actually going to be a negative number, so I'm going to put a negative in front of that because our value is decreasing. So negative 50x plus, what's the value that stays the same, is $2,575. So there's our equation there. So now we're going to use the equation to determine how much money she has after 15 months. So 15 months, that keyword months, is going to be represented by that x. So we will take that value and we're going to plug that in. So we have y equals negative 50 times 15 plus 2,575. So I'm going to multiply negative 50 times 15, and I'm going to get negative 750, and I'm going to add that to 2,575, and I'm going to end up with 1825. So there will be $1,825 in the account. All right, so let's look at number 4. Now number 4 is a little bit different. So we're going to read through the problem and identify some of the pieces here. So 4 says, after 8 weeks on the fitness program, Greg can jog 30 miles in a week. His average mileage gain has been 1.5 miles per week. Write an equation that gives Greg's mileage, y, in terms of the number of weeks, x. So I'm just going to rewrite the information given to me in that last sentence. So I have x is going to be my weeks, and y is going to be my mileage. So if we look at the equation here, the slope given to us is 1.5 miles per week. So we know our slope, or our m, is going to be 1.5. However, we don't have a y-intercept from the information given to us, so we need to determine that. So we're going to take our ordered pair here, and we're going to create an ordered pair based off of the information given to us. So x is weeks, so if x is weeks, we're going to write 8 for our x, and then y is our mileage. So how many miles are we looking at? And that answer is 30. So we have our ordered pair. So if we're given a slope and an ordered pair, we're going to go back to our point slope form, and we're going to determine our y equals mx plus b. So we are going to do y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So remember, we're going to do this. So we're going to distribute that 1.5. So we have and then I'm going to add my 30 to both sides. So I end up with y equals 1.5x plus 18. And that is my equation. So I just solved for my equation there. So that's my equation. So it says, use your equation to determine the number of miles Greg should be able to jog after 13 weeks on the fitness program. So I'm going to take my equation that I just solved for, y equals 1.5x plus 18. And I'm going to take my 13 weeks, and that was my x. So I'm going to put my 13 in for my x. So now I have 1.5 times 13 plus 18. And so my answer is going to come out to be 37.5. So 1.5 times 13 plus 18. So he should be able to jog, Greg should be able to jog 37.5 miles. So C says, use the equation to determine the number of weeks Greg has been in the fitness program if he is now able to jog 54 miles a week. So we have our equation again, and we are solving for, we have the information given to us, 54 miles in a week. So 54 miles, that's going to go in for our y. So I'm going to put in my 54 there. And then I'm going to solve for my x. So I have 36. And so my x equals 24. So it's been 24 weeks. So the last problem that we're doing is a little bit different than the other problems. And so we're going to set this one up, and then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit in class too. So it says between 1990 and 2004, the number of Lake Park students increased by 40 students per year. So we have that key word there, so we know that's going to be our slope. In 1998, there were 2875 students. Write an equation to represent the number of students in terms of the year. Let x represent the number of years since 1990. So when we see a sentence like this at the very end of our problem that says, let x represent the number of years since 1990, we need to do a little bit of math. So this first sentence here, between 1990 and 2004, doesn't have any value, that first segment of that sentence. So I'm going to cross that out. So it's telling us that we have a value in 1998. So let x represent the number of years since 1990. So that's like saying 1990 would be 0. So 1998 would be 8. So I would take 1998 minus 1990 to get that. So my x is 8 because it says let x represent the number of years since 1990. So in my ordered pair, just like I needed for the top, I have my slope, I have an x, and I have a y. So I'm going to do a point slope form again. So x is my year since 1990, so that would be 8. And then my y is my number of students. So in 1998, what was my number of students? And my y is 2,875. So that gives me the ordered pair of 8, 2,875, and my slope is 40 students. So now I'm going to put that into y equals mx plus b form to get my equation. So I'm going to distribute. And then I'm going to add 2,875 to both sides. And I'm going to end up with y equals 40x plus 2,555. And then we can go over b together. But we're going to just use our equation to predict the number of students in 2005. So that means we need to go back. X represents our year since 1990. So we need to do the same thing again. 2005 minus 1990. So that's going to give us 15. So use your equation to predict the number of students. So our x equals 15. So I'm going to take my 15 and put it in for my x there. So it would be 40 times 15 plus 2,555, which gives me 3,155 students.